Everybody just act natural.
Okay.
It's bonus episode time, bitches.
We're talking. What are we talking about here?
We are talking about the Alien movies.
Yeah,
but we're not talking about. We're not talking
Are
about
you
the
sure?
new Alien. I was like, how do I word it? Because technically, we're gonna do a heavy focus on Alien 3, while we also talk about the other Alien movies.
Yeah,
but we don't discuss Romulus yet.
Well, yeah,
because that's its own app.
Yeah, that's coming up.
That's coming next.
Yeah. And just because, like, you know, we're gonna reintroduce ourselves when we do the Romulus, but we have who's this? Who's this friend?
We have
Who's
Teagan Bradway.
It's me. It's
joining
Teagan.
us again, who joined us for the Long Legs episode.
Beautiful.
I'm very grateful to be back.
And is also my partner.
Oh yeah, I'm married to Jen Laidlaw.
Yeah.
So
All right.
but this is a big win for me because first I went from no, you're never going to be on the pod to okay, just this once you can be on Long Legs to now 2 more podcasts.
2 more podcasts.
That's right.
And I'm trying to play it cool, everybody. I'm trying.
Well, Teagan, we wanted you for this because you love these films, right?
I'm obsessed with the Alien franchise.
So you have Ripley like right there on your arm, tattooed on your arm.
Yeah, not only does Teagan have Ripley, I tattooed it, but Teagan has Ripley from Alien 3 on her arm. And I think Teagan
And
told
a
me...
face hugger on my arm.
You have a face hugger, that's
And did
true.
you do the face hugger as well?
I did, and
Yeah.
Teagan's request was that she wanted it to look like her. So that's why it has glasses.
I remember Jen's dad saying, now you're going to have to wear glasses like that for the rest of your life. And I was like,
Yeah, I mean, you're cementing
I guess so. It's a commitment.
it. Can you give us a little lowdown, like why these tats? Why?
I mean, I'm just obsessed with this franchise, and I'm particularly obsessed with Alien 3, as we will, I'm sure, discuss.
Which version?
The assembly cut, just to be clear. You're going to hear that phrase a lot, listeners, and there's a long story about it. I don't know if you want me to get into it now, but the short version is that Alien 3 went through a lot of production issues, and there is no official director's cut. And so what we have is kind of the producer's assembly. And so that version is my favorite version of Alien 3, and I really love Alien 3 for a lot of reasons. But, I mean, the Ripley on my arm, it's the shaved-headed, kind of gender fluid, queer Ripley, and that was like pretty important for me as a baby gay. You know, looking for some images of kind of alternative femininity.
Yeah,
and I had no idea why I was obsessed with this bald-headed Ripley, and I didn't understand why I wanted to look like her. But anyway, so that's part of it. But also, the Alien movies are just my like comfort movies.
All of them?
Well, some more than others, but certainly the first 3 are like coming home for me. And I would, when I was in graduate school, there was still a video store in like New Brunswick, New Jersey.
Fuck yeah.
And I went there, and for the first like month or so of being in this apartment, I had no internet, and I couldn't get the internet set up, and so I just bought a bunch of VHS tapes because they were 99 cents and I could afford that, and Alien was in there, and I just wore out that VHS tape. I would just like put it on. I would like restart it.
Was it the first time you'd seen Alien?
I think so, yeah. I think it was the very first time I'd seen it. I had seen Aliens.
You saw it first.
I saw that first, and I don't even think I saw all of it, but it was on TV. And then I saw Alien Resurrection, like when it came out, like when it was on. I saw that like when I was in high school or something. So I did not see them in order. And then when I saw Alien, I was like, oh my God, guys. I don't know if people know, but this is pretty great.
Did you know there's a great movie at the beginning of this series?
It started pretty rough with Alien Resurrection, and now Alien. Which is amusing. Now that I teach horror films, I will have students who are like, I'm like, oh, I'm going to assign Alien, and they're like, oh, I've only seen, Alien versus Predator, and I'm like, what?
You poor child. Like, who hurt you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like,
I have to say, I like Alien versus Predator.
Oh, I do too. Don't get me wrong.
The emotional connection between her and the Predator, love it.
I thought you were about to say the emotional connection between the alien and the predator for a second.
It's like, a will they, won't they?
And I've never seen The Secret. Teagan, do they?
They sure do.
They sure do.
I think about the tagline from Alien versus Predator all the time, by the way. I don't know.
Which is, wait, do I remember this correctly?
You
Was
must.
it whoever wins, we lose?
Yes.
Is that it?
Oh my God.
I can't believe I just plucked that
I'm so impressed.
out of my
Love
brain.
that.
I always think about that like relevant to Trump or something.
Yeah, so
like whoever wins, we lose.
Wow, I can't believe that that's in there. It's because I experienced Alien versus Predator at just the most impressionable, malleable time of my film going life. Really, first of all, I did not think that AVP would be the first Alien movie that we're discussing.
I can't believe this.
Is there any order that we need to go in?
I mean,
No. I went when I was like, I don't know, maybe, how old was I when that came out? 15, 14,
When did
15?
it come out?
I think it's like 2003.
Yeah, so like
Something
14
like
years
that?
old. And I was just absorbing
2004.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask a question? General Alien franchise question.
Yeah.
Which is like, obviously, it's called Alien. There's a bunch of aliens in it. But what do you all feel like are the stylistic features of it beyond just the alien? Is what makes an alien movie aside from the alien?
So we should also just tell everyone that we all recently watched and rewatched these movies.
All of them.
Yeah.
So the thing I thought about when watching them was I was like, and I think a couple of them fail at this, but I think that there should be a strong female character.
Mm-hmm.
I think something with the concept of motherhood should be in there. I think I need to see a xenomorph throughout most of the film.
There should be an alien.
Yeah, which
in
is,
Alien.
again, not in all of them.
I think jumpsuits are an essential part.
And we were talking earlier,
Doors. A lot of
Airlocks.
A lot of doors and
Airlocks.
airlocks.
Yeah, very, very important.
Everything gets sucked out of airlocks, always.
I think like an industrial boiler room or something is pretty there's got to be that, and some kind of working class
Yeah.
tension, although
Yeah.
some of them fail at that, which I'm excited to talk about. But
Yeah, that's interesting. For me, too, I think the sort of shadowy presence of the Weyland-Yutani Corporation is really important.
Yeah.
Yes.
And for me, the shadowier the better, actually.
Yes.
I don't really like it when it's too strongly represented in the movies. Like, the first one, Alien, for me, is like the perfect movie.
I was
where
going to
it's
say
like,
the first one does that perfectly.
they almost don't refer to it as Weyland-Yutani. I don't think,
No.
do they refer to it as Weyland-Yutani at all in that
I
first movie?
can't.
Or do they just call it the company?
I don't. You've seen it the most, Teagan.
I think it is mentioned, but
Okay. but subtly, maybe.
but very subtly, and yeah, they primarily call it the company.
Yeah.
Which
as
I think
far
is
as I remember.
way better. Like and you don't meet anyone from the company,
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
Yes, what is it?
Well,
the synthetic
yeah.
is whatever part, but it's not like a
Yeah.
person from the company.
He's just a tool used by the company.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that ambiguity around it, and
same.
even Ripley trying to be like, "How well do you know Ash?" and like,
Yes.
"When have you shipped out with him before?" or whatever. And so even his relationship to the company is kind of muddy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do love when it's less. I don't love it when Mr. Wayland is quite literally like,
Yes.
"Hey guys,
Oh
it's
my God.
me,
So I just have to say when I started watching
Prometheus."
when I started watching all the Alien movies, I basically said to Teagan, like, which ones do you want to watch together and which ones don't you? And she was like, I do not want to watch Prometheus. So you need to watch that on your own because I just watched it and I don't want to watch it again. So I watched it, and that movie has too much of the company because it has Guy Pearce as Dr. Wayland, who he's dressed like Dr. Evil.
It is true. He
Why?
really is.
And so is Charlize Theron in that movie. But like, yeah, I felt like that movie was too much of the company. That and
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So wait, are you not a fan of Prometheus?
I have a very vexed relationship to Prometheus.
Okay.
And I'll just briefly say, like, I remember seeing it in the theater being like, oh, that was fine. but I was a little disappointed. I thought it was going to be like the Alien prequel that was going to explain all this stuff, which, to be clear, I didn't want. Like, I didn't want that to begin with.
Same.
I didn't need to know where the engineers and blah, 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 blah. And then I remember, it was like early, like kind of YouTube movie review culture and like so much drama around Prometheus. And I remember reading and watching a lot of the like critiques of it and being like, yeah, this is an incoherent mess. But rewatching it, like there are parts of it I really like.
Yeah.
And much like Alien 3, it feels like a movie where you can see all this promise and then lots of face planting for me. And so like I love Noomi Rapace. I don't really like her character, but I love David, and I certainly love the performance. What else do I love in it? Just
the scene with Noomi Rapace,
the abortion scene,
Yeah.
is so great.
Yeah.
That's scary.
But I like the cosmological god, like, who are our creators kind of thing. But I'm curious if you guys like that part or not.
Thinking of creators and godlike things, I actually did have a question for the both of you. After watching Prometheus and Covenant, I was really thinking about like religion and Christianity in the Alien movies, and also a little bit of Alien 3 too. So how do you feel, like, because I know how I feel about it, how did you both feel about that being in the Alien franchise?
I think that if we're going to proliferate Alien movies, I would rather there be some kind of guiding principle or idea behind it. Like, I think that the broad ideas behind the three newest ones, Prometheus, Covenant, and Romulus, are like the story of like some sort of founding of like anti-city on a hill story. And so like all these like biblical allusions and various imageries thereof, I think are they're invoked to give it this like big sense of like dread and anticipation for whatever they're leading to. I'm not certain that they're leading to something coherent or that they're all talking to each other about what it's leading to. But like, I'd rather there be a sense of momentum with that than just like kind of doing the same thing again and again and again. Does that make sense? Am I making sense? I don't know.
I think you said it more eloquently. I just like a big idea. And I do think one of the tensions in the Alien franchise is the balance between science fiction and horror. And I think like Prometheus leans, and I want to get your takes on Prometheus at some point and what you like or don't like. But to me, part of me likes sci-fi, and that movie leans into the kind of like big speculative questions of science fiction. Where do we come from? What would it mean to meet your maker? And just a little bit of production backstory. Like, it's a film that's sort of, as far as I can tell, Ridley Scott is like an atheist, and then one of the writers, Damon Lindelof, who we have an ambivalent relationship to because he's a writer of Lost. He's like a devout Christian, and like, so you can see in Prometheus this tension between an atheist and a Christian, like at war with each other. But the reason I think the movie's kind of interesting is that it's like, oh, you meet God, and God's actually like, fuck you.
Right.
I'm not interested in you. And so I do think that there is an anti-Christian bent in Prometheus, and even more so in Covenant, where it is like David becomes Satan or whatever. But at the same time, sometimes it does, especially in those three, it feels a bit like pretentious, like English major vibes. And you might say that too about Alien 3, but I will argue, I kind of like the fact that you've got like actual monastic religious people, and one of the core things of their religious beliefs is this like exclusion of women, and so it really like puts front and center the tensions around gender and women in relationship to Christianity. And I think Alien 3 is like profoundly nihilistic, and so I kind
David
of like
Fincher,
it.
so
Right. But I don't know, do you know, what's your take?
I mean, I think Alien 3's makes more sense to me. It feels slightly less pretentious and less we're trying. I don't know. Something about Prometheus and Covenant really bothered me with the Christianity. It really felt like I don't need a Christian thread in the Alien movies. Like, Alien 3 was different because that was the planet they were on, and those were like the prisoners, and it was like their way of like redemption or like, you know, healing themselves in a way, was like abstinent. So like no women, but like I found Prometheus extremely frustrating, especially with the cultish Christianity vibes. I felt like because the true believers is like Noomi Rapace and her boyfriend, and I found them to be grating. I found all the characters in Prometheus to be awful. I didn't care about any of them. I didn't care that they died. I thought that's the one with the kills outside, right? Is that it?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that was a great moment. It's like in the dark kind
Oh,
of.
yeah.
Like I really liked that scene, but it just felt like even when Noomi Rapace is doing the abortion thing, I was like, this is great, but I also don't care about her. So like when I don't care about the characters, I care less about the movie. And I think the whole true believer thing, I was like, I'm supposed to side with them? Why? That pushes me further away because I find Christianity to be terrible.
Can someone explain to me? No,
Go on.
I'm canceled.
cancel. Can someone explain to me because what I'm finding in Prometheus through Romulus is not so much like a Christianity or like an allusion to Christianity, but more just like kind of like a confused, jumbled allusion to various mythologies and like where is the strong like Christian through line that we're seeing there?
I don't know. I think I just read it as that. And it might have been even the words true believers that just suddenly I was like, oh, well, that's what this is.
Oh,
but I
Shaw
think
is wearing a crucifix.
Oh, she
and
is?
she is
Okay.
like explicitly Christian, right?
Okay.
But I can't remember. I mean, but it's not like she has a specific denomination or something like that. But then that's kind of supplanted by the fact that it's called Prometheus, and we're going back to like Greek mythology.
Yeah, that
right.
part makes
But I
it-
will
yeah.
say, I can't wait to watch your face as I tell you this fact. But I do want to, we need to hear Harry's hot take on Prometheus. But I don't know if you know about the deleted part of Prometheus, which is we never get an answer for why it is the engineers want to kill humanity.
Right.
Well, the answer that was originally in the script but taken out is that 2,000 years ago, the engineers sent a representative to Earth to try to help us change our ways, but humanity turned on this savior.
Oh no!
And sacrificed him, and that was the time when
Jesus was an engineer.
Well, look, he's got those abs,
He
you
does.
know. I've just got those cum gutters. Okay, wait, I'm canceled now.
No, you just brought it back to Gerald's game. That's all.
Does he or does he not have cum gutters? It's an objective, verifiable fact. I don't think there's anything controversial.
No.
It's not a question of faith. But so that was, I think it was supposed to be even more explicit.
Oh,
that
wow.
They were,
Well,
but,
then fuck that.
But it is, at the same time, it's this it is this kind of weird disruption of evolution.
Yeah.
Right? I'm curious if you guys liked Covenant, because I kind of like it better. I mean, there are things,
I do too.
There are
Yeah, me
things
too.
I like and don't like about both, but like one thing I kind of like about Covenant is the bleak nihilism of it. I really like the ending.
Yeah.
But it does kind of embrace something that bothers me about Prometheus and Covenant is it's like the most interesting character, and the character that the film is so clearly interested in is David.
Yeah.
The boy robot. But like it is kind of interesting to focus on this villainous robot, and I kind of like that Covenant just embraces that to a degree that I would almost argue verges on camp at a certain point.
You mean when we're in the cave and one David is talking to another David, and he's like, I fucking played around for many years and basically invented xenomorphs?
Yeah. And he
What?
also offers to help him out with fingering on the flute.
Right. Yeah.
That's right. Oh,
That was
my
pretty hot,
God.
actually.
When you were asking Harry earlier about what makes an alien movie,
Yeah.
I do think the problem with Prometheus and Covenant is they don't have a strong female character.
Yeah.
They don't.
That is actually true, and that actually, you're right. I mean, and both of those movies seem like really different to me as far as alien movies go, and actually maybe that's it. Maybe that's a huge part of it. I like kind of enjoyed Covenant on just like a dumb level. I thought that the like creepy standing up xenomorph was like all white standing up xenomorph was like kind of scary.
Yeah.
But like that's all I've got for that movie. Like you know what I mean? Like that's all I was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, there were a couple.
There we go.
There's like that scene in the medic room where the guy's on the table, and I think he bends back and his guts split.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, that's cool.
Gnarly.
Yeah.
But also like, and also though, it feels like they try to just throw at us like new versions of the xenomorph every time, and I don't always care about that. I don't care that there's like a fungus xenomorph.
No,
that like
I don't care.
It just feels like a swing.
Well, I just wanted to say about Covenant, that one of the problems with all three of the modern reboots, and I mean, one thing it's interesting to think about how they keep trying to recalibrate. Like the reaction to Prometheus was so negative; it made a lot of money, but it was so negative. So then they're like, okay, we're going to put Alien in the title, and we're going to make sure you see the xenomorph a ton, but we also still want to hold on to the robot and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
What I feel like they're missing is sex and sexuality and eroticism, and like I think that the first four are like anxious and thinking about sex.
Definitely.
And so in the absence of like actual themes around eroticism, the monster just becomes the monster.
Right.
And so it's like, oh, you're just supposed to be excited about here's a new iteration. It's white now. It has, it's a snake now. It's this, that, and the other. And like, I know that there are some people that are really into like guns and monsters and like those aspects of the movie speak to them. But to me, it becomes really uninteresting when it's not attached to some of those deeper themes.
So I think that in both Prometheus and Covenant, though, they do like float the idea of sex in front of you, but I agree with you that it's not as urgent, right? It's not it's not pressing to the front the way an erection should. And and I wonder, like, what do you think is the difference there? What, like, because in Covenant they do. There's that snake thing, and he's like, it's got this mouth that looks a lot like a vagina, and he's like, oh, cute girl, right? And he tries to poke at it, and then it, violates him, right? Like it goes inside of him. It turns out to be penetrative, and so like there is sex in it, but like, and there is that like the sort of like ovum imagery of Prometheus too. But I agree that it's like not as urgent. So I wonder if you have any sense of what is that je ne sais quoi that's missing.
Sigourney Weaver.
A sweaty Sigourney Weaver is a valid answer, actually.
She has sex in the third one. Like there's actual sex.
That's one of my favorite parts of Alien 3, I think.
It looks like she and Winona Ryder are gonna make out.
Oh, definitely.
In Resurrection. I'm trying to remember the sexual aspects of I guess she's hitting on.
There's all these like sweaty
men,
army men around her.
That's true.
I mean, the second one, has its own complex, but it is more about motherhood,
right?
And it does deal with that kind of, what is the role of the mother in relationship to the body and all of that. But I guess I would argue that Prometheus, Covenant, and Romulus, without saying too much about Romulus, I would just say first, like they get the aesthetics, like they're getting the style of Alien really well, but they're not connecting it to a narrative framework. Like the concerns of Prometheus are primarily about like Christian believers who discover their faith is empty and like an old man who wants immortality and a robot that like doesn't give a shit about humanity and is kind of curious about creation. And none of those connect to the original core of the xenomorph, which was, as the writer Dan O'Bannon of the first Alien movie talked about, he was like, I explicitly wanted to make men in the audience squirm. I wanted to do like male homosexual oral rape. That's what he describes it as. And it was like, let's attack men's bodies in a way that we've always attacked women's bodies. And Ridley Scott said that he wanted Alien to be a combination of Star Wars and Texas Chainsaw Massacre in space. And so I do think that those movies aren't, they have the aesthetics of sex, and there are interesting things like Idris Elba and Charlize Theron like have a quickie. You've got in Alien Covenant, like once the danger is over, they run into the shower to have sex.
Right.
So it's like people are also having sex. It's the end of, and certainly in Romulus, we'll discuss. But it doesn't feel like it's trying to connect the terror of the xenomorph to the audience's fears around sexuality.
Okay, I got you.
Is what I would say, specifically rape fears. guys get sick of seeing the alien? Like, do you?
There are movies where it gets to be too much actually for me.
Which one?
I know that like it's one of the more beloved ones, but I like it's the overuse of the xenomorph is like one of the reasons that I don't really care for Aliens.
Yes, let's get into
The
this.
sequel.
Yes.
Like, that's just one of the reasons, though. I've got other reasons.
Oh my god, I'm buckled up.
No, I don't like Aliens.
Yes!
I think that it. No, it's not that I
love
don't
this.
like Aliens.
Totally.
I think that it's
Don't walk it back.
it's over. It's overhyped. What I love about Alien, the original one, is the way that it leans into cosmic horror and
Yes.
the fear of the unknown.
Yes.
And it seems like in Aliens we take, by committee, we're like, it seems like people liked the alien. Let's have more aliens in this one. I think we need to have more. Let's have tons of aliens. Aliens crawling all over buildings and, huge egg deposits of aliens. And it's like, no, that maybe less is more. I don't love Aliens because I hate the sort of rah military shit of
I agree with
Alien.
that.
It's so
Yeah. That's definitely my least favorite
And maybe
part.
it played better in the 80s, but it's
Yeah.
so fucking cheeseball now. I just can't.
It is.
I don't know.
Especially, what's his face's character?
Game over, man.
Yeah.
Game over.
Is it Bill Paxton?
Bill
Yeah,
Paxton.
Bill
Yeah.
Paxton. Yeah. It was a good impression.
No, there's whole montages where they're just kind of waving guns around, and I'm like, where is the dread? Where's the misery of the fucking first movie that I love so much?
Okay. Is it the special edition? What's the one that has the extra scene, Teagan?
Special edition, which is James Cameron's preferred cut. It's an extra 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
And I do think it's completely necessary to watch Aliens, because I think it shows a different kind of dread, because it goes into one of the people from the company telling, for anyone who hasn't seen this version, telling Sigourney Weaver that she's been on the, in the cryo, whatever the fuck it's called, for 52 years. And in that time, her daughter has passed away.
Right.
She grew up, she was an adult, she died an old woman. And Sigourney Weaver says something like, oh my God, I was supposed to be there for her 11th birthday. So then when she meets Newt, who is probably about that age, maybe a little younger. It's hard to say. We never find out her age. It's it gives her this second chance, which I think makes Newt more important to the film with
definitely.
that other part. But I feel like there's so much dread and awfulness for Sigourney. She's grieving a daughter. She's, finding this child, but there's so much panic throughout the movie of losing the child, her falling down these chutes, and she doesn't want to come out of the thing in the beginning. So I feel like the dread is more the dread of child loss.
Yeah, absolutely. I think those 20 minutes are absolutely essential because it much more clearly sets up Sigourney Weaver's Ripley's quest to reclaim her motherhood. But I also So I do appreciate it more with those 20 minutes. Something else that bothers me, though, about Aliens is I just get this kind of I root for the aliens in Aliens. I don't want Sigourney to go, but kind of pretty much all the rest of them I do because
even Newt.
You don't like Newt?
No, poor
let's
Newt.
get
I don't
into
feel
it.
bad for Newt. I do feel bad for Newt.
That's actually hilarious because you're the one with children.
I don't want Newt to die. I don't want Newt to die. But I also had this tickling thing in my brain where I was like, oh, but they're colonizers. They've colonized this planet that is not theirs.
That's a good point.
And now this indigenous species is exterminating them.
That's a good point.
And so and Sigourney Weaver brings it up just
Yes.
ever so slightly, where she's like, I don't know who's worse, us or them, because at least they don't go stabbing each other in the back for $1, right?
Yes.
And
Percentage.
it's just flirting, just floating this idea of maybe we should question who we're really rooting for here. But the movie just totally backs away from that.
Yes.
Doubles down again on we're right because we're humans, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, you're articulating so many of the problems I have. I will say this: I enjoy watching Aliens quite a bit, and one of the things I really enjoy about it is the Sigourney Weaver performance. And I think that on the one hand, the film's benefits are that it creates some interesting and complex depth for Ripley as a character that pays off really well for me in 3. On the other hand, it creates a lot of problems. And I mean, so putting aside like some of the thematic stuff that I'm not thrilled about, which is kind of, I think, a very traditional idea of motherhood,
Definitely.
which feels very 80s and sexist, a very traditional fetish for militarism, as you've already mentioned. But like first, now there's like a million aliens, and they are like, it was so hard to kill one in the first movie.
Yeah.
Now it's
and now we're just
super
ripping
easy.
them apart. Yeah.
They put like fucking 2 guns up and like kill a bunch of them, and they're not even in the room.
So they become cockroaches to
Yeah,
me.
essentially, yeah.
And secondly, then their acid blood, sometimes it hurts, sometimes it doesn't. Like it seems totally inconsistent.
That's true, because like, why is it not always going through the metal?
I mean, because it would become very inconvenient to the plot sometimes, I guess.
Right.
The fact that the company doesn't know about LV-426 and about the original, you know, we could, I mean, I agree. I love your reading of the dread of Sigourney or of Ripley. And really the plot is about like a woman being gaslit and proved right. And so that's pretty satisfying. But at the same time, the movie kind of suggests that the company didn't actually know and that they're just kind of bureaucrats.
Right.
And that Burke is horrifying because he is like a mid-level bureaucrat who is willing to screw people over. But it demystifies the company in a way for me that doesn't work very well.
It's not fun. It's not fun anymore.
Yeah, in the same way that like seeing in the extended version, you see the colony and it's like you got kids running around on little bikes and stuff. And it's just kind of... But I will say, I'm so glad you brought up the colonial aspect of it. So this is, I'm sorry, nerdy English major brain, but the Nostromo of the first film is named after Joseph Conrad's novel, Nostromo.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, so there really was a clear critique of colonialism and colonization in the first movie. They're going out, they're getting these materials and bringing them back.
Yeah.
And we discover that like actually the otherness of the universe isn't going to be domesticated.
Yeah.
And in the second one, like, get away from her, you bitch. We will domesticate her.
Yeah, exactly.
And like,
exactly.
But it does make me uncomfortable. Like James Cameron, and there's like a interview with James Cameron and George Lucas where they both talk about how they were trying to respond to Vietnam. And so the idea that they were like, we were trying to show these indigenous populations like overwhelming a more militant, industrialized empire. So in Return of the Jedi or whatever, it's like the Empire. And the Ewoks are the Vietnamese. And I'm always like, guys, I don't think that that's doing the work that you think it's doing. In the same way when they're like, oh yeah, the Vietnamese are the aliens, you know, the soulless sex monsters
yes.
who will kill you.
When you bring the context, when you bring the specific historical context of Vietnam to it, yeah, that's really offensive.
But it does feel like it's in there, like in some way. I think you're right about that.
But is it less offensive if it's just kind of a broad, not about Vietnam specifically, but just a broader colonialism story?
Yeah.
About, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
No, it's not the offensiveness. I just mentioned that because I think it's funny, but
I think it is funny, yeah.
More that it is this kind of incoherent, like, sort of critique of colonialism, but also like, isn't militarism so cool?
Yeah.
As long as ladies are doing it.
Right, exactly. Or as long as one lady is.
One lady.
There's got to be one lady in there.
Yeah. And the other lady's in brown face. I mean,
I know.
that didn't age well.
It didn't age well. No.
God damn. Can I quick sidebar another, because you brought up the acid blood, the inconsistency of the acid blood, where now we've got gallons of it and some of it seems to burn and some of it doesn't. Another thing that seems to have changed throughout the entire franchise is the gestational period.
It drives me crazy.
Yes.
It really bothers me.
Drives me crazy.
It really bothers
Alien
me.
Resurrection like fucks that up big time, I think.
What?
Because you have one character like through the back half of the movie who's like got one in him.
Oh, you're right.
Just so that it can pop out at the right moment.
Yeah.
But there are other times where it immediately pops out.
Absolutely,
Right? Like,
yeah.
Anyway.
Well, wait. Should we talk about 4 then? Resurrection.
We should
Since
definitely
we
talk
talked about it. I
Yeah.
mean, brought it up.
Yeah, sure.
I don't have anything.
Do you guys like Resurrection? Thoughts?
I kind of don't have a lot to say about Resurrection.
Same.
For me, it's like now we're getting into the territory where it's just like okay. But now we've got Alien, but we don't have the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, which, as you know, is like a big thing for me.
Yeah.
But like the army is just supposed to like fill that spot, but it's not for me. I don't know. It's a miss.
It's a miss. It's a miss, but I'd still rather watch it more than Prometheus and Covenant.
I love a big swing, and I love batshit, fails. And Resurrection sure is that. And yet, I don't really like to rewatch it very often. It makes me feel... I don't understand. Like, maybe I was sick when I watched it the first time or something. It makes me feel sick. Like, it's so gooey and gross. And but
they're also gooey.
I know, but something about the alien baby, the hybrid alien baby at the end of Resurrection... Preview for my thoughts on Romulus. We've done this before. Anyway, but the alien baby at the end of Resurrection is like so gross. Yeah. I don't know. There's just so much green goo. There's so much goo. But there are things I really like about it. Number one, I like an alien swimming in water. I think it's pretty fun. Number two, I hated it the first time that Sigourney Weaver is a clone who's like a weird... she's somehow got vibes of the alien. Now watching it, I'm like, you are having so much fun, Sigourney Weaver. Like, good for you.
Yeah,
you got paid, and you're being weird and sexy and horny. And I like the lesbian subtext with Winona Ryder, even though it's very 90s.
So
it's like, we're not going to do anything with this. But
yeah,
I like Ron Perlman, although everybody's shouting the whole movie. And too much shouting for me.
It's actually why for a long time I would get Alien Resurrection and Alien 3 mixed
There's
up.
a lot of shouting
because
in Alien
there's
3.
so many men shouting.
Yeah.
Also in the second one too. Yeah,
maybe that's crucial to the Alien franchise. Shouting.
Shouting men.
Men shouting.
Maybe that's why the first one was better.
I like the French director's vibe. Like, it doesn't make sense. And that's one thing we should say. So in case people don't know, the first 4 Alien films are all directed by a different director and an auteur. Like somebody who has their own kind of unique vision or whatever. And after that, it kind of goes away. But I like that they were like, let's hire this French surrealist director who barely speaks English and will need a translator on set to communicate with the crew, which I think explains a lot. A lot of the film.
It does, yeah.
You gotta love, what's his face? Chucky is in the movie. What's his face? Anyway, he's like one of the scientists who's like, and I love the scene where he's like, goo goo gagaing the alien, and he's like bound up against the wall, and he's like completely enamored scientifically of the fact that he's going to get eaten.
He knows exactly what kind of movie he's in. He's like him and Sigourney Weaver are like, we know the kind of batshit movie that we're in right now.
But my take on Alien Resurrection, I want to pitch this to you, Harry, and get your hot take. But so Alien Resurrection and Alien versus Predator, I think, have to be understood in the historical context of coming after a little film called Jurassic Park.
Yeah. Yes.
Now, I have made this claim to Jen, and Jen I've never gotten a straight answer. And so this podcast perhaps is a chance for us to come clean in our relationship. But I have said, I think that Jurassic Park is Steven Spielberg's Alien movie, and that the raptor is a ripoff of the xenomorph.
Oh my God.
And I am curious for your hot takes on that.
I like love that, and it never would have occurred to me, but actually it makes so much sense. It makes so much sense, and not only the monster itself, but the way that for instance, that classic Velociraptor scene in the kitchen is like shot, and how they build tension in that. It's completely alien. Holy fuck! Wow.
Yeah.
You've blown my mind.
I think every time you've said it to me, I'm just like, okay. I don't really think about it.
No, but it's real.
But look at how Harry's validating me.
It's real.
When Harry did mention the kitchen scene, I'm like, oh yeah, they are. But it's so hard for me because I know Alien is such a great movie, but Jurassic Park holds a special place in my heart.
It's cozy, right?
But I do think that I can see the similarities.
And like those kids like pressed up against the like metal of the stoves and things while they're like looking in reflections around corners and things. It's 100% Ripley up against the wall with the fucking alien in her face with the mouth within the mouth and you know what I'm talking about?
And actually, I think that when the kids are not just the raptors, but the T-Rex moment.
Yeah.
Because, there's a moment when, it's I guess they're in the car, and isn't the T-Rex really close to her face, too?
Yes,
there's
yes,
a moment
yes.
Where it's,
totally.
really close.
Oh,
to
it blows
really,
off his hat? Blows
yeah,
off her hat?
yeah. That's also kind of like that moment when the alien's, breathing on
Yeah, you're totally right.
Ripley. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I'm curious. Well, we haven't said much about Alien versus Predator, but it was Jen's I think possibly favorite.
No, it's in the top 3 though.
But it is very. It's like Jurassic Park meets the Mummy meets the Thing.
Loved it. Okay, so here's the thing. Teagan and I were watching it, and I realized I'd never seen it before. So I watched it for the first time 3 weeks ago, and I was really into it. I was like, okay, I like this plot. Mm-hmm. I understand it's not convoluted. It is straightforward. Mm-hmm. We have a goal, a mission to get this thing. There's already tension between people. And then my favorite part, because I love Predator too. The first Predator movie. Yeah. That is one of my favorite movies as well. Love it.
Get to the chopper.
What?
Get to the chopper. Right? That's Predator, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And it does the same thing that the first Alien movie does, which it basically ends with one person fighting the monster. Mm-hmm. But anyway, regardless. Mm-hmm. So it makes sense to me that they would fight each other. But what's more interesting to me than any of their fights is that the lead character, what was her name? Was it Rex? I wrote down her name.
I'm pretty sure at that point
Lex.
they stopped naming their lead characters, but sorry.
No, she had a name. Her name was Lex, and I love the moment where it's you have to align with one of them in order to survive, and obviously she doesn't, I don't think, realize it, but it makes so much sense to align with the Predator because the Predator has more language than the alien does, and I just loved her. Once there's that connection between her and the Predator, I was like, this is great. I am in. I love this. I thought that the emotion between her and the Predator was great. My only critique of this movie really is I did not fucking need that terrible, what do you call it? Flashback. The flashback where it's this is what the Predators would do. They needed the aliens so they could fight them and then show people. I was like, oh, come on, guys. I don't need another, because keep in mind, I'd already seen Prometheus and Covenant, and I was tired of where do the aliens come from, because I don't need to know.
Right.
So I was like, cut that whole fucking bullshit out. Be a perfect movie.
Damn.
Yeah. Okay. What'd you think?
I think it's a good dumb action movie. I don't care about. I don't like Alien as an action film. I don't like Aliens.
Yeah, that's the
I
problem.
don't. That's part of also why I don't really like Prometheus all that as much as I should. I just don't want that. I want the fucking dread. I want
the horror of it.
The cosmic horror of Alien, which I'll never get again because now you can't put that toothpaste back in the tube. Now we've got all this mythology and all of this shit that's just out about it. So it's whatever. I thought it was dumb that they were oh, the temple walls are moving, but then they stopped moving.
Okay, so I do agree that the temple walls thing, the fucking alien blood.
Yeah.
Inconsistent.
Yeah, it's just bad writing.
And also, I do think AVP is more of a Predator movie than an Alien movie.
Okay, gotcha. I like the first Predator movie. Mm-hmm. Last time I saw it was probably 15 years ago. And I don't think about it often. So
it holds up.
One of our earliest dates, Jen took me to see Predator.
Oh.
In a theater.
Yeah, it was like a
classy lady.
Yeah. And it was definitely like a key moment of falling in love with Jen, you know, and I was but early on, 5 minutes into the movie, right, I'm like, Jen, I can't hear any of the dialogue.
Because it was a music venue theater. And everyone, including me, were shouting
every line.
The lines.
Every line. And I was like, Jen, I'm worried I'm missing the plot. And I remember you were like, oh, don't worry about that.
You're doing it wrong. Yeah.
You're going to be just fine.
That's so funny. Oh my gosh.
But yeah, what I like about Alien vs. Predator is it's very aware of its legacy in the kind of universal horror monster vibe. So in the beginning of the film, there's on the TV is a clip from Frankenstein versus the Wolfman, and the alien queen like basically plunges into the ice at the end, much like how Frankenstein is usually destroyed only to be resurrected. And so I kind of like the self-awareness of the, like, let's bring our monsters together and fight. This is of course also the era of Freddy versus Jason.
Nailed it.
Which I have I kind of dig. You know what I mean? And so, it's like popcorn. But I do agree with you. It is kind of crazy that Alien versus Predator, a film that is all about aliens and predators fighting, felt the need to have like a mythology to explain
why they're together.
And like, and I was just like, guys, I don't think we need this ever.
I did not need to know that they were in the same
universe.
Like, I didn't need that.
That's because in Predator 2, right? With
Danny Glover.
Oh, I forgot he gets up into the ship at one point near the end, and you see like an alien skull.
I don't think I've ever
like
seen
mounted
that
to
one.
the wall, and that's like where it all came. That's like where the idea came from. Should we do 3 or should we talk about 1 first?
Let's talk about 1.
Let's talk about 1 first. Okay.
Some specific 1 questions.
Oh.
Why is it so good?
Dude,
what makes it good?
What makes it good? That is such a great question. I think you're going to get a different answer from everybody. And I think one of the things that makes it good is that it is a very... it's a very dissectable movie. Like that's part of why I love it so much. I mean, there's a Marxist critique in it. There's a colonial critique in it. There's something in there about sex and gender. There's something, it's like there's so many ways to look at it, and so many things that are fruitful. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of half narratives there.
No.
Like you get with Prometheus or something, So that for me is part of it.
Similar to films like Predator or Die Hard or Jaws, there is a simplicity to it that I absolutely love, and a kind of linearity. It's like, just this one situation after another. There's not a lot of convoluted external plot. It's just sort of basic, and I always find that extremely riveting. You have a bunch of smart people trying to figure their way out of a difficult situation, and I just really enjoy that. I think that the aesthetic or the vibe, the atmosphere of the film is so filled with this dread, but also this sense of like gritty, dirty unhomeliness. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to rest in this place.
Definitely.
And I just kind of find that interesting, like how undomestic it feels. I mean, like the coziest places are the white sterile doctors' science quarters where you definitely don't want to be. I mean, I agree with you completely. The interpretation of it, thematically, and then also narratively. Every time I watch it, I'm kind of like, okay, at what point is Ash manipulating them? At what point does the company know or not know? Like, at what point what does Dallas know in terms of his relationship to the to Mother? What happened to this alien that crash landed on the planet? What's the deal with the eggs? And I just love the mystery, and that so little of it is specified. And I understand why they have tried to answer those questions. Like, I guess people have enjoyed speculating on them, but I enjoyed the speculation rather than
And I think that's a rarer taste, right? I think people who like to revel in the mystery and the not knowing and find that more tickling than the temptation to learn what it is. I think that's actually kind of hard to find.
I agree 110% with both of the things that you said about this film. Where you were saying it was like very dissectable. Like you can like find some. I feel like every time I watch it, I'm like finding a new theme or like thinking about something different or seeing something new. And like what you were saying, Teagan, about it being very like simple, like not convoluted, I think also is really important to this one. I think there is like something about it too, where the mystery is you're kind of in like their shoes.
Yeah.
Like, so you don't know what's like, you're not in Ash's shoes. Like, Ash knows what's happening, but like, you find out everything in the same moment that, like, you know, Sigourney Weaver's finding out. Like, so I think there's something like really interesting about that being like in that moment. So those moments of surprise are more shocking. Yeah. I also do love a movie where, like Die Hard or Predator, like, most of the people die off and then you're left with one person fighting the monster, which I think lends itself to that simplicity too.
Yeah. And you love that she goes to get Jonesy.
Love it.
Yeah.
She saves the cat.
Hell yeah.
I love it.
Well, and that says so much. I mean, you know, I think that says a lot about, you know, the trauma of her situation, right?
Yes.
Her bond with this only other living earthly thing.
Yes.
In the face of all that she's experienced. I think also there's something that's great about this movie. Jen, what you said was something about people discovering new things about it and, like, you know, having to figure out, you know, just how rough a situation they're in through various, you know, sequential events. Like, there's something in it about the strangeness of this movie that almost makes it feel, the first time I saw it, it felt surreal to me. There's like a surrealism to this movie. Moments like, I mean, of course, moments like where the dude gets the very first face hugger that we ever see. That's weird. Bit like when Ash gets chopped up and he's just like covered in this like unknown white fluid, which people also interpret sexually, and like. But then he's also kind of just like talking at you with this weird modulated voice. Like, there's just these moments where the strangeness of this universe wasn't really fully known to you until you get to this point, and it's alienating. Thank you.
And I do think that alienation, like, unfolds slowly, you know?
Yeah.
But it's also there from the very beginning. Like, one of my favorite parts of the movie is just the beginning where the camera, like, goes through these empty, you know, it feels like a haunted house of the spaceship. And then the spaceship, like, essentially wakes up. And you have these two, like, heads that are essentially computers. And they're talking to each other in their own language. And so from the first time I saw it, I was like, are they the alien? Like, what exactly is the alien here? It's like all of these things. The other thing I like is every time, this is something I like about Jaws as well, like the slow reveal of the monster.
Yes.
But like in the movie, you know, each time you see it, you're learning new parts of its whatever, like biology or how it moves. Its form. And I have always felt that one downside of the sequels is that they didn't sort of explore more possibilities of the aliens, like, not emotions, but like, it is not obvious to me in the first movie that the alien just wants to kill them. Like, it seems afraid when it's like tucked into the ship, hiding, you know, it's like, and I just feel like once you turn it into like just a cockroach or a monster,
like a killing machine,
you know, then you kind of like. But I thought that's such an interesting moment to me when the alien itself seems to be protecting itself,
absolutely,
to escape the ship.
It feels more like an animal. Like, it feels more like you've stumbled across this like creature that you don't know what it is, as opposed to what they say you think it's for, which is like a military whatever. Like, it's not that yet.
Why
would it be that?
Always say that it's for the weapons division? And I'm like, what weapons division is gonna use this? Like, well, anyway, we'll get
trying to make out of it.
Like, Well, Romulus gives us it
does.
which we will discuss.
We will. Another moment for me that emphasizes that surrealism is like the characters all talk about Mother.
Yes.
You know, talk about the computer, of course, but like, the first time I saw the movie, it took me kind of a minute to figure out what the fuck they were talking about when they were talking about Mother. And like what? Yeah. So anyway,
I love the naturalism of their dialogue. People talk over each other. Like, it might as well be a Robert Altman film.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
You know, and then the class dynamics are revealed. You know, where you've got the guys who are like, we should be getting full shares. We don't want to stop on this planet.
Like, where this is not what we do.
Yeah.
This is not our job.
Love the kind of naturalism of the characters. I think that their interactions are really fascinating to watch.
So hilariously, an hour and 15 minutes into this conversation, the thing that I wanted to hear was Teagan's take on Alien 3. This is an Alien film that you love.
I'm obsessed with it.
And I watched for the second time in preparation for this.
Oh.
And I want to hear why you love it.
Yeah, Teagan, tell us all
you guys
the
don't want to
facts.
give your initial reactions to
No,
it?
I will give my initial reaction.
Yeah.
I think that there is something absolutely fascinating going on in this movie. Again, we're harping on questions of gender. We are talking about questions I found it like a really timely movie actually to watch right now. Because of just like the male distrust of Ripley simply for being a woman, and this like weird kind of celibate bro pact that they all have that leads them to that and to fear her sexuality.
Yes.
And
they're straight up incels, guys.
Absolutely. Well, that's where I was going with this is like it's a colony of incels. Like that's where we are here. So yeah, I mean, I thought that was really fascinating. I almost I wanted less of an alien. I wanted less alien. I wanted more of the world and less alien. And if I had that, I might have been really into this. The first time I ever encountered this movie was my friends and I, as teenagers, used to go to the video store. Dating myself here, and intentionally pick out movies that we thought would be bad.
Yes, I did that too.
Because we could laugh at them. And so the one moment that I remembered from this movie was the moment where the alien makes its first appearance. They're all sitting in a circle. It comes down out of the ceiling and just snatches one dude up. And there's a guy holding a chair, and there's a pregnant pause, and he goes, "Shit!" Right? It's so funny.
Yes.
Anyway, that's my spiel. Jen, what's your spiel?
It's almost hard for me to have a spiel because as long as Teagan and I have been together, so basically since 2011, however many years that is, I have been hearing the words alien assembly cut forever. I am pretty sure at one point Teagan said, "Play the entire movie at my funeral." I'm pretty sure that she said that at one point.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm going to that funeral. Fuck yeah.
So I feel like when I watch Alien 3, I think about Teagan. But if I'm really going to talk about Alien 3 and dissect it,
your opinion.
I do think that, so Teagan has told me some things. I don't know. I never saw Alien 3 non-assembly cut version. So I guess, what's his face? The guy that
Golic.
Golic
Yeah.
was cut from the theatrical version of the movie. And so when Teagan told me that, I was like, what? He's like the whole, he's the one that fucks up the whole thing. Like, he's pretty important to the movie. So I do feel like this version makes more sense because of that. But I do feel like the CGI of the alien bothers me.
Oh, it's bad.
Every time.
It's bad.
Like, but my questions about the alien in this movie, why do I not know what size it is? Why, why do I not know what color it is? Because sometimes it looks green and sometimes it looks black. And I know it always has a greenish tint, but sometimes it really looks like olive green with like yellow tones. Why is it sometimes a dog and sometimes it looks like not a dog? Like, I'm so confused. Are there multiple of them or is there just one? Like, why do they look different all the time?
Because 1992 CGI was
It was so bad.
CGI though, it looks like
some of it was.
Because I remember parts of it that looked like that
some
sort
of
of
it's a
superimposed claymation.
Some
that
of
they
it's
would do.
that too. Like a
yeah,
rotten
which
puppet.
also
Which
again
also looks bad.
It's probably why there's no consistency in how big this fucking alien is.
It's fine. Tegan's over there just like, okay, sure.
I mean, I agree. I agree.
do like.
You're not wrong.
I do like Ripley's character a lot in this. I don't love the beginning where they're like, and they're dead. Bye-bye.
Oh, Newt
But
and-
Newt's
I
just
do like
gone.
that they have a funeral for them. I appreciate that. I don't understand the falling from the ceiling, but it's sci-fi, so I'll let it go.
Wait, what?
They're like dropping the bodies from the ceiling into the incinerator.
Oh, yeah, incinerating them. Yeah.
What else? There was something else I was thinking of. I don't think it's necessary to have the almost rape scene. I think that we know who these guys are, and I don't think that that's necessary.
I disagree.
Oh shit! Well, Harry, we all know that you want more sexual assault in your movies.
No, that is not what I said.
Canonically Harry. Like that's part of your lore. That's how Jen introduces
I said
you.
I wanted
Have you met my friend?
Movies.
Oh, okay.
You added the whole word assault, and let me tell you, Jen.
You wanted movies that assault you with sexy vibes.
There you go. Thank you.
All right. I misremembered. But I will say this Alien movie was way more enjoyable to me to watch than many of the ones we've discussed.
Yeah. So Teagan, now that we've stepped all over the balls of like your favorite movie,
I love this.
Let's have it. Yeah.
Well, okay. I mean, there are so many things to say, so just interrupt me as we go here. But the first thing I'll say is like I said, I love a big swing. You know, I love a movie I love art that is messy, and you know, it may not be.
Wait, just to be clear, are you calling the Alien sequels art? Just to make sure I heard
yes,
that
I am.
I'm just fucking with you. Okay, go on.
But I think, you know, so for those who don't know, Alien 3 was, okay, so first, there were a ton of different versions of this film. And the one version was going to be that they go to the aliens' planet, and there were going to be a ton of aliens, but they couldn't figure out how to do that. There was a version written by William Gibson, the cyberpunk author of Neuromancer, and that version cut Ripley out of it entirely because they didn't want to pay her. And she was unsure if she wanted to come back. The version that got closest to being made that this is mostly a riff on was by this kind of indie filmmaker who'd made a movie about like medieval monks. And so the original idea was that there are these monks who live on a wooden planet, and and everything is kind of like, you know, run in medieval ways. And Ripley lands on the planet, you know, and the alien causes havoc. And it's sort of similar in that way. And then they were like, had real problems with this artsy-fartsy director who they couldn't control. And so they fired him. The producers take over, and they hire David Fincher, who this is his very first movie. And he had done music videos for Nine Inch Nails and Madonna. He'd done commercials, but he was not David Fincher yet, right? Of Seven and Fight Club and whatever. And so they're hoping they can control him. But if you know anything about David Fincher, he is obsessive compulsive, anal, like, and he reshoots things 80 times, you know? And so the tension behind the scenes was like, he's trying to produce art, and they're like, we have a release date.
Right.
We got to bring this movie to a release date. And so they take that script of monks, and they're like, okay, cut the wooden planet. How about a prison planet? We can do that, right? Like, how about we cut out monks and we make them kind of Christian? That works, right? You know? So there's a lot of, it's messy in that way. And I personally love that backstory because I think you can see some of the tensions in the movie itself. Like, I don't know about you guys, like if there are things you like partly because you know the story behind it in some way.
Definitely.
And I do, and I think it's fair to say, well, you shouldn't incorporate that into your liking of the thing, but I do to a degree.
Well,
And
I
also you
think
can't
you
help
can.
it. I mean, like...
Yeah.
And the fact that it's like David Fincher's going to go on to become David Fincher.
Right.
And so I think you can see the seeds of that in the film, and I think that's really interesting. But in terms of why I personally love it and resonate with it, first, the sheer nihilism of it. It is a movie where, like, you know, the minute Ripley makes a human connection with someone who like bears their soul, that person's dead.
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh, you love the kid and the like little pseudo-nuclear family from the last movie, they're dead. Like,
Yeah.
Like, this is a brutal world, and a world that like has no time for sentimentality.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
And
she and the guy have sex and connect, and then
He immediately
he's
does.
dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the nihilism of it, I think, is really interesting. And there are competing versions of nihilism in the film. Like, you've got the one guy who's like, look, I'm just working a job and I don't, 85, like, I don't care about any of this. Let's just wait and let them handle it. Nothing matters, right? Versus, Dylan, who's like, do you want to die on your feet or do you want to die standing? Or die on your knees or die on your feet? Basically, like, one way or another, you're going to die and your life isn't going to have meaning. So in what way do you want to end it? Like, if the movie to me is very much about like, how do you choose to die, and what meaning do you make out of your death, which is fundamentally nihilistic existential question, and that is the entire plot of the movie. Find me another Hollywood movie with a big star in which the entire plot is about Ripley's desire to get an abortion and to kill herself,
which she does.
She does both of those things, but none of the men will do it for her. She desperately wants to be killed, and like these guys won't do it. And I find that fascinating. Like, I love the inversion of the Christianity, right? Like, she is giving a virgin birth. There's no way in which she's like could have been impregnated by this.
Yeah.
So she's like, and she's giving birth to a queen. Like, that she doesn't want. It's an unwanted pregnancy.
Yeah.
Like, there's the whole scene of her seeing it within her and the terror of this. And it's like, you want her to get an abortion, which to me is profound.
Yeah.
And I also really like the kind of 90s post. It's responding, I think, to a 90s post-feminism where it's like women and men are just the same and they can be in the workplace together or whatever, and there will be no problems and whatever. And this movie's like, no, like men are still repressed, fucked up people and they have sex issues. And so I agree with you. I don't love that rape scene, especially because of suddenly the like industrial rock or whatever that comes over it. But at the same time, I do think the threat of rape of men is very interesting. And the dread, she can't walk around without a chaperone.
Absolutely. Well, and I think that also that rape scene is really important because I think that it makes the men and the xenomorph like kind of the same. Like, I'm super interested in Alien. In a lot of these movies, actually, they do a lot of equating.
Yes,
like the xenomorph and something else that is in the movie. It's like somehow are they somehow fundamentally the same? And so I don't know. That was the thing. That's why I like the rape scene. Like that's why I see it as necessary. Because it helps drive home that terror.
I think so, but I think we already get the terror of the men. Although maybe I don't know. Maybe I see the terror in the men, of the men, not in the men, of the men, because I'm a woman. So maybe it needs to be more explicit.
No, I think that it's definitely there, and I mean they're talking about it explicitly about like why she needs a chaperone, why she can't be on the station, she's got to go as soon as she possibly can. Like they're definitely talking about it. I guess in a horror movie, I want to see the horror. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You know what I mean? I want to see it come to fruition in some way. So I don't know.
I just really agree. I think the film does a good job of making it clear that Ripley, when she's walking around, she should be more afraid of running into the alien or these men.
Right.
And I just like that dread. I do think the alien is the least interesting thing in the film.
Right.
You can really feel the David Fincher of it all, where he's like, I'm interested in these like characters. I'm interested in these little dramatic aspects of the scenes and how they play out. And he doesn't care at all about any of the like franchise stuff. And that's something I find interesting is like they marketed the hell out of this movie to sell video games and toys and all of that. And then you go to see the movie and it's like, what? Like, what is this? But I love Ripley's character in this film. So I think I would argue it's Sigourney Weaver's best performance out of all of them. That would be my argument. And secondly, I think she has the most to play with, the most notes. And so first she wakes up and there's this like potential sense of relief and reunification. We escape the situation from aliens. Then she shifts into distrust because she doesn't want to be disbelieved. Last movie, no one believed her. No matter how much she kept saying, they were like gaslit her. So she plays things real close to her chest, which is interesting because we know what's going on. And Clemens, the doctor, doesn't know, which arguably takes the suspense out, but it makes the drama of what Ripley does more interesting. Then she truly believes that the alien has been vanquished, and the first thing she does is have sex. And partly her having sex is to manipulate him to not ask more questions about what she's concerned about. But I also think part of it, she says, I've been out here a long time. She says to the alien at one point, like, you've been in my life so long, I can't remember anything before you or something like that. And I just think that that's so interesting. Like, okay, in this ass end of space, she's trying to find some measure of agency and pleasure. How often, and it's so important, I think, that we see her choose to have sex and enjoy it in the context of the film's puritanical sex phobia.
Because it's like a moment of relief for her. Like she suddenly like can live her life.
Yeah.
And so that pleasure she's able to have that pleasure and enjoy it.
And I think I would say the movie becomes less interesting as it goes on because it shifts into
like action.
Is she in charge or not? And I don't feel like the film follows through on the early tensions. These men should be to some degree like reluctant to listen to her, and they kind of are, but not really.
Right.
Not. It doesn't really pay off.
Right.
There could be. I just feel like there's a lot of interesting stuff that she has to play in the first half, and then the ending scene, I think, is very interesting.
Yeah.
But I was very curious for your thoughts on. This is another movie where we get essentially Mr. Whalen showing up.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right.
We get this like, no, let us have it. We should study it, and we get her choice, and she says no, and just like destroys herself. And it's such a weird nihilistic feminism. Like, I would rather destroy myself than let me be exploited and controlled by you. But I mean, I love it. They're like, we'll give you the procedure. It'll be so quick.
Oh yeah,
it could be over so fast. And she's tempted.
Live your life. Yeah, but there's also like, and we don't know either to trust or distrust them.
Oh,
like
I
they're
think
gonna.
we can fairly suspect that we should
distrust them.
I mean,
yeah.
But they're holding the camcorder.
Right. Oh, dude, the guy with the camcorder.
I love that. They're like, no filming. I'm like, well, why did you bring that guy? Like,
also, what fucking year is it? It's like 21...
Yeah, that's a good point.
Something or other. We still have 80s dad cams. Like, sorry.
I feel like everything else is futuristic. You'd have something else futuristic.
Right. No. Sorry. That's yeah.
But you did say that this is another movie that has like, not military, but like there are a lot of men. Like there's a lot of people. I think the one thing the first movie does is there's not that many people. And then all the movies after that, there's a lot of fucking characters.
Too many.
But you had mentioned David Fincher's, how he develops characters or like is more interested in the characters than like the creature.
Yeah.
I think it's noticeable because these characters, a lot of them you end up caring about or being interested in.
Yeah.
Whereas like the second one, Resurrection, all the other ones, you kind of don't give a shit about a lot of the characters.
Yeah, sure.
I think it's interesting, like 85 is this just yes man. And then by the end of the movie, he's the one with her when she finds out she's pregnant. And his face and his reactions, and so it's like you got this character who's essentially meaningless to the plot, and yet even he is invested with some complexity. I do think it's a downside of the film. It's a lot of people have talked about the film as in some way responding to the moment of AIDS and being an AIDS allegory. I've never been fully persuaded by that reading, but certainly the imagery of these like bald-headed, sort of genderless people. But one of the downsides is just like, who the fuck are these characters? Everybody's bald. Most of them are white men, and they're all dirty. It becomes really hard to tell them apart. And even if that's thematically the point, it's not super entertaining to be like, who are you?
No, I hear that. I don't know. I think that aesthetic though is really striking. You know what I mean? Like, and in a way that isn't super typical of the other Alien films. And so that's actually something that draws me to it.
I love the sets. And so 2 bits of production, I will shut up about this, but one thing is that, so there were all these script problems and script delays, right? And so, but meanwhile, they were building sets. And so they were just kind of telling the set designers, like, well, just keep going. And so if you look at the sets, they're insanely ornate and Baroque and like detailed. And so I love looking in the background. And for example, in the scene with the morgue, you've got like spaces for bodies that go all the way up to the ceiling. And there's like some massive ladder. Like it makes no sense that anybody would ever be up there.
Well, but then it does though, because there's all this like backstory barely spoken of, but of like their fear of like plague and so like it actually does kind of weirdly make sense.
And that nobody goes to, like, no one goes there. What, like every 6 months there's like one ship or whatever that comes out with supplies. So like, where would the bodies? I guess they could burn them, but know.
Just stuff like that. And then the other thing is that Sigourney Weaver agreed to do the film. So she agreed to do the film on the condition that they kill her and that there are no guns. because she was very concerned about the representation of guns in Hollywood at the time.
Yeah.
I think she was concerned about the fetishizing of guns and aliens. And so I do think it was an interesting idea. Like, okay, how do we create a scenario where there are no weapons? How do we go back to a scenario where there's one alien? You know, how do you arrive at a situation where Ripley dies? I will say the other thing that she wanted in Alien 4 was that she has sex with the alien. And that just makes me want to hang out with Sigourney Weaver. Like, it makes me think she's very cool. Like,
Ooh.
But did you guys like the ending of the third one? Like, would you feel
Yeah.
like, would you
did.
have felt like, okay.
For all the flaws that I found with Alien 3, one of the things I did find compelling was Sigourney Weaver's arc.
Yeah.
And I think that I wrote down in my notes that this was like the last film where she wakes up and is like dealing with these aliens again. And I felt sorry for her.
Yeah.
Like when it comes to Resurrection, it starts to tip over into silly for me.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yes.
mean? But with the third one, I'm still feeling it. Like I'm still like I can get behind her weariness and all of that. And so to have her die at the end of it, I think is like actually a really nice way to end it.
And it
I don't
makes
know.
sense for her character. I think the arc from like 1 to 3, like
Yeah.
it makes sense. You're right. 4 goes into
4, it's like,
camp.
oh my god. Then it's like Sigourney Weaver wakes up and she's like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Like, you know?
In some way, I'm sure there's a way we could do it, that each of these movies in some ways is like an allegory of its production
time?
as a sequel. Like each one is in some way, because like Resurrection is about like cloning and like
Right,
trying
right.
to like quite literally rebooting, and anyway,
Yeah.
I don't know, but
That's really funny.
I mean, Prometheus is like, let's go back to our origins, but you turn out they're disappointing. You know, it's like, yeah, well.
Oh my god, I love that. So, dear listener, we asked Teagan to summarize each film in a single sentence, and that's what we're gonna hear now. So,
Well, I will say I read these to Jen, and she did not laugh, which was rough for me. So,
no, okay.
and not even a pity laugh.
So they're like,
not even a chuckle, not even a.
well, I don't
chortle?
know
Chortle? Is that
the
genre?
Is it a meme? Sound like
Yeah.
I'm 80.
It's like summarize this movie in a sentence badly, right? That's what people do.
I'd never heard this before, so I didn't know.
Well, it's a thing.
What it
All
was.
right. Well, I did my best, but I'm not that funny. So,
Okay, I'll laugh really hard.
Don't
Thank
go
you
by
so
me.
much.
I got you.
Alien. A doctor falls in love with a girl who is not like other girls, and his coworkers do everything they can to keep them apart.
So wait, the girl you're talking about is
The alien.
the alien. Yeah. Okay.
And the doctor is Ash.
That's Ash. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
All right, aliens.
That's dark.
A hardworking mother who just wants to have children finds herself attacked by the Marines, an accountant, a dock worker with PTSD, and a scrappy little girl.
It's the colonial argument. I love it.
I have two different ones for Alien 3.
Okay, here we go.
Alien 3. One day, a bullied prisoner with no friends sees a dragon. Everyone assumes the prisoner is just a little crazy, but things take a turn when he sets the dragon free. A pregnant woman... Yeah, this is Alien 3. This is my actual take. A pregnant woman just wants to get an abortion, but her ultra-conservative friend won't help, so she has to take drastic measures into her own hands. Alien Resurrection. Like I said, these are not that...
I like
not
the
that-
dragon.
I like the abortion, taking the abortion into our own hands. I think that's
Alien Resurrection. Two lesbians have a love-hate relationship that becomes even more complicated when one of the lesbian's exes shows up pregnant. When the baby arrives, the lesbian will have to make a difficult choice: be a mom or run away with her new girlfriend.
nice.
Alien vs. Predator. While out on a hunting trip, a young warrior makes an unlikely friendship. Together, these two mismatched friends go on an adventure of a lifetime as they try to survive the ultimate escape room.
Oh my god.
Prometheus. Two Christians lead a team of atheists to meet God, only to discover that God is a Smurf with incredible abs. Alien Covenant. A young gay man struggles with his identity until he meets an older gay man who teaches him how to play the flute, and
Yes.
in the process
Okay,
to
that's
see
pretty
his queerness as a beautiful gift.
Oh my god. Okay, I love that
And
one.
do you want Alien Romulus since we're here?
Let's have it. Yeah, and then we'll.
yeah.
Yeah.
Alien Romulus, a soon-to-be mom, just wants to take a vacation and get some sunshine, but her due date comes much sooner than expected. She and her best friend have to make a tough decision about what to do with their preemie.
Oh boy. Shoot it out the airlock. All right. And with that, does anyone have any final words on the Alien franchise in our mini-sode that is going to be 2 hours long?
No.
Any thoughts? No?
Game over, man.
Game over. Love it. Okay.